All right, everybody, welcome back to the Angel Baby Show. We just recapped our fantastic Eras Tour Taylor Swift experience, and now we're super excited to interview our special guest today. This is Lindsey Brooks, Iconology Founder and serial entrepreneur. Welcome in today, and before we start asking you a million questions, I just want to give a little rundown on what she's responsible for. She's responsible for creating and managing strategy on many of the highest grossing campaigns and rolls out in as seen on TV industry, such as the Shamwow, Schticky, Smoooothaway, Slap Chop, and many more. That was kind of a tongue twister. Lindsey has also coached celebrity spokesmen like Hulk Hogan, Gordon Ramsay, Vince Offer, and George Foreman. She is a serial entrepreneur who is currently chairman of several progress research and AI-driven companies in Seattle. Her companies power Facebook ads and retail campaigns geared towards consumers. And then Ava, do you want to tell us a little bit more about Instapreneur, which
yes,
more about?
I was gonna say Lindsey's main focus is Instapreneur, which is a social entrepreneurs movement and an experiment that teaches all humans that they can be entrepreneurs and that their product is themselves, which is super exciting in today's social media world. So welcome, Lindsey. Thank you so much for coming on the Angel Baby Show. And first and foremost, we just love to hear in your own words, what is Iconology?
Sure. Well, Iconology is it's a venture studio, but it's also a boutique agency. So we help deserving brands, typically looking for, we like founder-driven brands, brands where somebody is an influencer or an icon already, and they're kind of known for something. And we help them tie products and concepts to their brand, and we help them get, global placement. So 120 countries, 80,000 stores worldwide. We help them distribute to different platforms so their voice is heard. So many things. We also work with impact brands. We're really big in the animal refuge places, and we've got about 11 of those that we work with to help kind of market them and help them with merchandise and just getting their names out there. So we're just kind of all about helping people that really suit that next vibe, because we kind of feel like influence is like one thing and it's amazing, but I think being an influencer is kind of like so cliche. I think it's more about being iconic, right? And being memorable, for who you are and what you do and how you kind of bring a generation from one thought process to the next. So
yeah, that's and were there any like certain people that you can think of that kind of inspired this image of like someone that's iconic that influenced people, or a certain like brand or endorsement you can think of?
Sure. Well, I mean, just a fun one is like, and we like this is like an influencer before influencers were influencers, but my old friend Billy Mays, which you may or may not remember him, but he was this guy that used to sell this product called OxyClean on TV. And he was like, Billy Mays, OxyClean, with like the beard.
That's amazing.
And like his whole thing was like just being this like really true, kind, like just like a dad type, that you would just buy anything from. And he was just a really good guy, and he would sell people on their own dreams more than even his own, and I just thought he was really a great person. And he was somebody who is a very good friend of mine who helped me get into the TV business. And he died actually about 12 years ago, but without him, I'd pretty much be nothing. But, he was kind of funny. Like my first divorce, he actually, like, I was in a place where I couldn't pay for it, and he literally called my divorce lawyer at the Chicago house arrest show and paid for me so I could get my son. And it was really funny because Billy Mays is like this, famous guy on TV, and he's like, Billy Mays here for Lindsey's divorce. Like, it was pretty funny.
Oh my God.
That is so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like podcasting, it's about making a meme, about how a meme is made, and actually
Hey, Lindsey, we lost your sound. Can you hear me? There you go.
There's a really cool podcast that NPR did on Billy Mays, and I'm in it, and it's actually all about the making of a meme, right? Like how a meme is made.
Yeah.
And it's how he became like this crazy meme. So you might catch that if you're interested. It's kind of interesting, like the advertising and the level of kind of pop culture sensation you have to get to do that. I've done it twice actually, so it's kind of interesting.
Wow, I would love to, because we really in our generation grew up on memes, and like I personally always buy things and get things through friends or people that I trust or someone that I like look up to. And I've gotten to this habit now of if I want to find a new app or I want to like learn something or buy something, I start searching on TikTok and just like listen to people talking and like faces and seeing it. And I don't know what that says about me, but I think that's how most people feel. And so to kind of recognize that so long ago and to be working toward that, like it really sounds ahead of the time to me. And that was my next question was, so this really started when you were 19 with like a metal hair massage product. And can you just talk a little bit about that? And
yeah, it was a head massager that like basically I invented it. And it was a really tough time in my life. Like it was an accident that I came up with it, but basically like I was one of these people that I just wanted to like, honestly, in Seattle, I wanted to make friends. And there was these markets where like these girls with tattoos and cigarettes would be down there like selling their stuff. And I was terrible at making art. So I made this little body rake that was made from like copper. And my ex was like a construction guy. And so we always had all this like scrap material around. And so I was like, well, I'm going to make wind chimes. I'm going to make bracelets. And I was just terrible at all that. So I made this body rake thing that actually felt pretty good. And I took that down there and I sold like 20 of them in an hour. And I was like, oh my gosh, This is like a hit. So then basically the head massager was born, and it was like this crazy hit. It's this thing that goes over your head and gives you this tingly, goosebumpy feeling. Yeah. And I ended up taking it and selling it all over the world. But I had a tough time. Like that first year, my ex was kind of more of a trophy, you know, he saw me like as more of a trophy wife, I guess you could say. And I ended up getting cancer. I lost my hair, lost my fingernails. I had Hodgkin's disease, lymphoma. And just our relationship dwindled. I basically had nothing. He like locked me out of every bank account. And like you, I didn't have Google or like knew how to even get to like a courthouse, basically even like, you know, get through this. And I had to like walk downtown to like even talk to a lawyer, you know, because I hardly even had a cell phone at the time. It's really interesting to think about how hard that was. Like looking back, you guys are still lucky. At least you can like Google, okay, here's how I get divorced. So here's how I have a property dispute. Here's how, you know, there's like at least some sort of something, you know. But I was super sick. I was going through this terrible part of my treatment. It was like the tail end, you know, of the chemotherapy and stuff. And I'm going to this like, you know, impossible space in my life where like I basically had no one, you know. And there's this street fair this next weekend, right? Like, so this is going back like 22 years almost, I guess, 21 years or something. And I go to the lady, I'm like, hey, can I pay, you know, like I can give you part of it now. I had like $200 and it was like $250 or something. And she's like, yeah, that's fine. Give me the $50 tomorrow, whatever, I'll let you in. I had like the product that I had in my car. I weighed 90 pounds. I was bald. I mean, like I really needed the work, right? I mean, I was really in a bad place because I was super, you know, had no money and didn't know what to do. So I went to this show, throwing up literally every hour. And by the end of the show, I made $6,000, right? With my own product, selling myself. And it was the first time I ever saved my own life. And the last time that I ever worked for, you know, anybody else, basically, because that was the last bit of stock he made. And I went and made my own, and boom, I was, you know, out on my own. And that's been 20 years I've been an entrepreneur. So it was, in a way, I like to call that like your disappointment's your appointment, right? Because these things that are bad that feel like, I mean, most people, the end of a relationship like that, especially at that age, would have been like just the end of your life. But for me, it was the beginning. And don't get me wrong, you know, it goes up and down as you're an entrepreneur, as you're growing, as you're building things, as you know, there's going to be times when you're gonna have $10 in your pocket, but you get through it, you know, and it's actually what makes you stronger. You know, that's your training. So.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That is like the most inspiring story I've ever heard in my life, especially as a female. I mean, that's, you know, being an entrepreneur as a girl too is just, you know, an added challenge. But what, you know, that was such an incredible journey, an incredible thing that you've experienced. What was like in the back of your mind, like pushing you through all of those things? Because I'm sure that was just so difficult.
I think you just have to. I think you just have to. As a young woman, my dad actually just passed away, but my mom was like a homemaker. My dad was like the breadwinner, and he messed up his business and had nothing. And we like lost everything when I was young. And I started working when I was like 13. So I kind of had that demon driven into me that like, if I didn't do this myself, I wasn't going to have any money. And so I was just never going to be that girl that like didn't have my own stuff, because I was just afraid that somebody wouldn't take care of me and it would end up the same way. And so I think that was the voice in my head at the time, was like, this is exactly what is happening to you. And you are on your ass, pardon my French, but you're on your butt. And you need to do this yourself. And I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, and I was able to do that every time. And I think that I didn't always see failure or learning as a positive thing. I didn't always see obstacles as like good. I always, like anybody, I was like, oh, this thing's in my way, it's a setback. Now I look at them and I go, okay, a setback's just an opportunity for a comeback, right?
Right. That's, yeah, I think the thing about entrepreneurs is, and what scares a lot of people is like the self-reliance and the self-motivated attitude. I think some people just they work better under an employer, and it is a personality trait, I think, to just be driven and to hold on. And because you've experienced what it's like to have nothing, and you know what it's like to have that fear, it kind of builds this like fuel almost to keep going. But
right.
But yeah, and we were going to ask you now with a little bit more, you're extremely active in government and shaping policy for entrepreneurs from like a state and federal level. And I'm just curious, like, how do you feel like the system supports or doesn't support in the United States for that kind of like to be an entrepreneur?
I think it changes with every cycle, obviously, government wise, like, whoever we elect is kind of who's at least shaping that. And then honestly, the quality of their interns, because their interns are actually the ones that are writing the policy, right? So I would just always recommend to anyone young who wants to get into government, like get into government and start writing policy and learn to pitch policy, because you will be able to shape the world. That's the first thing. I think the second thing that I found is that most senators and most representatives are not that knowledgeable about business at all. They're not very knowledgeable about internet. They're not very knowledgeable about AI or social media, as you can tell. I mean, they were like banning TikTok. I mean, like, it just doesn't even make any sense, and then just the kind of lack of knowledge that they have just technologically, I think really is upsetting. But to that point, again, there's always yin and yang, right? So that obviously makes somebody like me shine, right? That makes somebody like you shine, because you do know about these things. And so you can have a table with them a little bit faster than like the guy that's just selling cookies down the street. You know what I mean? So that's kind of good and bad, right?
Yeah. So when you meet with these, government agencies, I, like you said, would be so intimidated. But obviously you have so much knowledge. Do you have like, what's like your specific agenda that you kind of go in?
I mean, it depends on what it is. I mean, like the last time I did a big thing was with inventors. We went down to Washington, D.C. We were helping to try to pass an act for inventors. And the goal of that act was actually to make it so that patents were stronger for intellectual property. So we brought a big group of people. We went and visited all of our senators, representatives down in Washington. There was a congressional hearing. And we just talked about basically like how people that make things, oftentimes when they patent them, end up getting them stolen. And there was a very specific story of a friend of ours who has like 8 kids, who had a huge product that sold like $250 million, and a big company took it using a system where they like troll patents. And it was kind of a big thing, because all we have in this world as, small business owners sometimes is intellectual property, right? So your image and likeness, your trademark, your patent, your copyrights, all these things, those are different agencies and different offices, but it's the same vein, right? Those are not private rights though. They're corporate rights. So it's hard, because when you have an individual business and their life is dependent on that livelihood, it's upsetting, right? So there's, a lot of activity around it. Mostly what you're doing is you're building awareness. Sometimes you work with lobbyists, but the biggest thing is to just talk to them just like you would talk to anybody else, and to be persistent. I've done it a lot also with animals, like with wild horses. That's actually, I've been like, just like you, using social media is an amazing way to put information out, to tag senators and representatives. We got a lot of people to sign a big bill recently that basically helped to stop the roundups, which are helicopter roundups, where they round up, 80,000 wild horses and separate moms from babies and stuff. Some friends of ours made a full-length feature film on it, and that was shown in Washington, D.C., which has been really amazing. So, and then also just the science. I think the other thing is backing up everything that you do with science. Like, so there's a reason why with wild horses that, you don't want to round them up. The biggest thing is if you like California and you wonder why it's on fire every year, it's because there's no wild horses and there's no goats. And the reason for that is because their hooves trample out the invasive species. And there's actually something in their poop that when they go to the bathroom, it kills the invasive species so that you don't end up with fires, right? So BLM really made a big mistake because now the whole West Coast lights up like the 4th of July because you've gotten rid of this really crucial part of the ecosystem. So it's getting the science, getting the smart people involved, and figuring out that everything's really a system and we need each other. So
wow, that's so fascinating. See, that's something that I had no idea about. I didn't know that there was any correlation there. So yeah, definitely getting that information out is obviously really important.
mhm.
And with
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
get and back to like the social media strategy behind it, like what are some of your ways to get this information and to reach an audience and get people to care about things that they didn't know anything about?
I think the most important thing is get your camera on. You are the demo. Don't make a video, be the video, and just turn your camera on. When you think of something, turn your camera on. When you're outraged, turn your camera on. Just start talking about it. Tell the stories. Tag the right people. Don't be afraid to reach out to people that may not talk to you. Like, that's what social media is great for. Every single person I've ever reached out to really actually reaches out to me back. I don't know if it's because they check my LinkedIn and they say, oh, this is somebody who could help me or whatever, but for the most part, you have not because you ask not. Make those moves. Play big. Like, you never know who's going to respond to you and who's going to care.
Yeah. Well, you've
Need to work
managed
on-
you've managed over $4 billion worth of consumer products worldwide. Your products have been sold in 80,000 stores and in over 120 countries. What would you say is your business model?
Well, it's actually really simple. So just like anybody, that could be anywhere, like you see people on TikTok, like they have a product and they go on, they make a video and they test it. Very similar to what I did, but I did it live at fairs and trade shows and special events. So I would go to like a market, I would have my product, I would see people buy it. That's the first step, right? So if you have a winner, then you can usually make money. Now, it's easy sometimes in this day and age to see what's working, right? And then take that, adjust it a little bit and have it work. But actually, there's about 8 points to making a 2-minute video work. And those points are pretty simple. One of them is curiosity. The most important thing is that you get people to be curious, because if they're curious, then they'll buy something. That means you focus on a unique selling proposition. The other thing is familiarity. So just like with Shamwow, we said it's like a cloth, it's like a towel, it's like a sponge, right? Like, it's not so different, because if it's too different, then people are scared. See, humans have 11 different cognitive biases and they have 10 different internal biases, right? So we have to play in between those and help to kind of move past those objections. And that's why with TikTok and Facebook and Instagram specifically, because they work off of emotional algorithms, they actually are playing off of a very similar methodology pitch-wise that we do. So our goal is to help people to not think, to not make a decision, right? Much like, so you go to Amazon and Google, those are places you go for things you know. But when you're on TikTok and somebody's like, oh, look at this brow thing, the goal is to just get them to like, look at this brow thing. And they're just floating through some other world where they probably already felt bad this morning. Their boss yelled at them, their boyfriend broke up with them, whatever. They're in an emotional situation and they just want to feel better. So we're actually just turning on an endorphin drip, right? And that endorphin drip is causing them to go from, like the happy kind of dopamine to kind of a little bit of oxytocin so they feel close to us, and serotonin so they say yes. And using certain words in a 2-minute pitch makes people do that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I fall for it. Like, I will go on my phone just to check something, and then I'll start scrolling, and somehow I'm looking at ads for something I didn't even know I needed. Like, it's a hole that you can fall into.
Yeah,
but
you get sucked down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But it's because the algorithm plays to that, right? Because now that those algorithms actually can connect your emotion to where you are in a day, now we know when we can put ads in front of you to make you impulsively buy. So there's 2 kinds of internet marketing, right? You have index-based marketing, which is things you go, like places you go for things you know. And there's impulse-based marketing, which is what we do on Facebook and TikTok, which is where we're just emotionally trying to grab you for something. It's not chance. It's actually extremely scientific. Direct marketing, you've probably heard this term, but that's not a channel. It's a tactic. It's a strategy.
Right. No, I mean, I'm really interested because, I still use Instagram. I don't really use Facebook, but TikTok is just dominated. I mean, in a lot of different aspects. Do you see, the Instagrams and the Facebooks like fading out, or do you see them staying?
I see Facebook and Instagram are going to stay because of the incredible data. And so again, you don't have to like want to be on Facebook and have even a social media page, but accessing the back end data for your audience is very powerful because it does control the Instagram data too. And that Instagram data can also be moved over to TikTok very easily.
Right.
So using tools, lookalike audiences, things like that.
That makes sense. What do you think it
but
is
like, for
about-
example, you want to live in that world so that you can access those points because it makes selling to people easier. Because if you start off with nothing, you're just starting off with like whoever you attract, which could be okay, but it's easier sometimes to have some data points to go from.
That makes sense.
And by data, are you just saying like evidence of like what people look at and search history and like photo history? Like what data is it from Instagram?
Much deeper. No, much deeper.
Okay.
So they've been watching you and tracking you guys since you're probably little tiny kids at this point. But all of us for 20 years, they know what you're going to do before you're going to do it. And that's not because of really just searches or anything I can actually physically look at and tell you. It's that when I put in a pixel, which is like a piece of computer code, the only thing I could liken it to is like a little Pac-Man, let's just pretend. Okay. And it munches like all the people that it thinks are going to take the same action that you want them to take. Right. So you say, I want them to buy this brow pen for me. Okay. So it'll go, these are all the people that may have bought a brow pen before. Might buy another one. Okay, that's one option. But then there's also people that express that they wanted to get plastic surgery. There's also people that express that they, might be depressed today. Like that, there's all these different things that like Facebook's data points will pick up on, and then they're going to show that ad to the people that they think will turn the fastest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
those data points aren't, it's not telling me like, hey, put these ads in front of depressed people. It's, it's just taking a pocket of those people. And then the more ad dollars you put behind it, the bigger the net gets for those people. But those people might all look and act the same. They might all drive the same car, do the same things at 5 o'clock, look the same, act the same. They might also be a little different, but the demographics are merely just I'll just call that a veil. Like, so they go women between the ages of 25 and 45. That's a veil for divorcee, yoga mom, narcissist, like these other things that we already kind of know she is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so you're kind of rebranding the idea of influencer, because I know, in the past, influencer almost has like a negative connotation to it. So I'd love to hear just more about that, like how you feel about the kind of rebranding with, the icon rather than like the influencer.
Yeah, because I think, to you, it's like, you're right. Like an influencer is like somebody's like paid or like, they're just trying to, you can feel the energy suck in the word. Like just if you close your eyes and think of the word, it's like, it feels like somebody's pushing you to do something. An icon is someone who's just naturally attractive to you, right. That you just want to like be like, it's like, I don't know, I got to meet Mick Jagger one time, right? And that's not a guy that introduces himself. He doesn't come in and say, I'm Mick Jagger. He just Mick Jaggers himself across a hotel lobby. And you're like, that's Mick Jagger. And there's no introduction needed. You know what I'm saying? That's an icon. Mm-hmm. It's just like all the bullshit about about having followers, right? So followers are useful, of course, to the algorithm, because again, we're playing a math game. If we kind of show TikTok, hey, we're playing by the rules, we got a few good followers, we'll run like $10 in ads and get a couple thousand more, those followers are not going to do anything. They're not going to buy anything. They're not going to do anything. They're just standing there. They're like a shill. A shill is like just people standing around. You know what I mean? But actually, it's more important to have followers that will actually activate, or just random people that will activate that never follow you. You see what I'm saying? So, but the platforms want you to play nice and do what they want, so they have at least sort of a footprint of who they think is going to maybe be attracted to you. So it's almost like a roundabout way of doing things, but because people could say, well, why don't you just market to who you want to market to and just be done with it? Because the platform has to look like it wants to look like it has activity, because it knows that if you have a crowd, more of a crowd will come. That's the point. That was the point with followers. But a rock star doesn't look for followers. They get chased because they're naturally already emulating something that makes people want them. You see what I'm saying? So if you just do that, you actually will be more successful. That's why, like, when I tell people when they're doing their TikToks, like, you want to do at least 6 really good seeder videos when you start a new TikTok or a new TikTok product or a new TikTok handle for something, and let the audience tell you which one's the best. And oftentimes the best video is going to be something you never thought. It's like you vacuuming or something. And you're just like, really? Like,
yeah.
And then you let that video run, but then you start running ads to videos like that and make more videos like that. That's allow the audience to kind of push you. But if you run, and then there's other ways to kind of like mess with the algorithm on TikTok and really, get the right audience. But the key is for you to know what it is you're selling. Like, do I want people to take an action? Do I want them to like me? Do I want them to watch my video? Do I want them to buy something? Do I have a TikTok shop that I'm running? You know, like whatever that is. But you have to get them to do those actions. Otherwise, it doesn't make money.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting, like you said about the video, the vacuuming video. I've experienced that so many times on my TikTok where it's like I'll post something with no thought and like really, just be like, oh, I'm just gonna post this. And then that's the one that gets the views and gets the likes. What do you think it is like that's driving that? Like, do you think it's
curiosity, familiarity?
Okay. Yeah.
Problem, solution, just a real person doing something real in real time. And that's the other thing is TikTok also favors videos that are shot in app. So if you shoot an app and you shoot it and you post it right away, the algorithm does favor that instead of someone who like goes and shoots it in like CapCut or something else and then puts it, it knows. I don't know if you know that, but it does know. So that brings your CPM down. If you are running ads, like your CPM will be way cheaper if you're shooting all in app. That doesn't mean you have to just shoot and post. You could shoot and then draft and then edit, but just something to note, it wants live activity.
That's so interesting. I actually had no idea. I
mean, think about it. 50% of the internet is people watching other people doing stuff.
Yeah.
Look at YouTube. I mean, even more than that. Look at YouTube. Like it's all demos. It's all people building tree houses, this and that. Look at like crazy ASMR videos, people brushing each other's hair. Do we use those things have? Like it's crazy.
No.
Totally. We're all naturally voyeurs.
Yeah.
What? Sorry, what'd you say?
We're all voyeurs.
Yeah. And it's, I've never seen The Social Dilemma, or what's the documentary about explaining Instagram, and I like need to watch it, but I think I just don't want to, like, that I don't want to know like what I've been tricked into for the past, because I don't think about it. And I will say, like, I was always kind of late to TikTok. I didn't go on it because it kind of freaked me out for a long time, because I would like watch Harry Potter for the first time. Like, I don't know if I Googled it or I looked up something, and then I had all these Harry Potter videos coming up on my For You page. And I was just kind of like, it was creepy, but it was cool. And the thing about like the algorithm and everything, it's such a science, and the way that you speak about it, like, I always hear like, oh, your brand and your look and your whatever, but like the scientific data that you're pulling and the industry of it, like, it's so vast to me. I'm kind of like, I almost need to replay this and like listen to it again and again, because I
mean, you can obviously feel free, and also, feel free to email me or call me or text me or whatever if you have any questions, but it's more about the math. It's more about the science. It's more about the advertising science that there is to everything that we do in ads, because humans are scientific. We're just a chemical box of mush. We're just a memeplex walking around, right? Because honestly, your brain is like works off of like 5 or 6 different chemicals. Basically, there's more than that, but like 5 that really control it. And I can do lots of things to you and show you lots of things that I can trigger you and push you. So it's just like ChatGPT is like a bunch of prompts. We're literally prompted by what we are prompting. Like, that's the crazy thing. It's like, you've heard the term cause and effect, like cause and effect. Okay. So like, there's this old kind of like philosophical argument, but like, is the effect the cause, or is the cause the effect? So case in point, you have a boyfriend or somebody in your life, like they look at you weird, all of a sudden you feel weird, right? But then you look back at them weird and then they feel weird. Like, it creates this like cataclysmic mirror effect, right? So same thing in social media. Somebody shows you a dog getting drugged down the street in China, you're gonna feel like shit for a few hours. You're gonna post that, you're gonna make 100 other people feel like shit. They were fine until you showed that stupid video. Like, do you see what I'm saying? So meanwhile, now you've just triggered all those people to want to fix that pain, which caused them serotonin a little too early because the dopamine didn't flow. You see, we need dopamine in the morning, right? That's why, like, if you watch all the guys who are like super professional, like Navy SEALs, whatever, they say, get up, put sunlight in your eyes, right? First thing in the morning. Why? Because the first like 20 seconds of sun you get gives you dopamine. That's like your little drip for the day that keeps you like happily protected in this little bubble, right? Oxytocin. That's why you want to roll over and hug your partner, pet your dog. Makes you feel close to somebody, right? That's why you go right on your phone and you go, oh, are my friends online? Did anybody text me? Oxytocin. Everything you do, you're triggering yourself to get more chemicals, get more chemicals, get more chemicals. That's your whole day is chasing chemicals. So once you realize that's why you feel bad, oh, fix the damn chemicals. Put more coffee, put more alcohol, have sex, whatever it is you're going to do. Do these things to fix, But and I'm not saying go get drunk and like, go on OnlyFans or something, unless you want to. But the point is you need to like realize that you're just driven by those chemicals. And once you realize that, you feel better. And when you feel better, you can do anything. And then you can control the room, right? And now you can control your whole world because you're like, oh, I'm not subjected to all this other stuff. I'm actually the one subjecting everyone else. And that's where, like, to what you're saying about like, I didn't know about the social dilemma. And that's like so crazy. I don't know if I want to know. Listen, you've been subjected to it your whole life, socially, digitally, but even sociologically since you're a little kid.
Yeah.
If you have a parent that's ever looked at you weird when you did something wrong, and that look when somebody else does it affects you, like you've been like, we're all doing this to each other all the time. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's like, so we don't realize how imprinted we are by our whole world.
Right.
Like even your phone right now, the fact that we're using a phone like this, like it's sociologically engineered us.
Mm-hmm.
We're literally like a whole cybernetic collective, right? You're already half cyborg because this phone is your brain.
Right.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like it's it
really
sounds like a dystopian. I feel like I'm like, this is the beginning of a dystopian. But I mean, obviously you have an extensive amount of knowledge. Your company is amazing. What do you think the next steps are for you as an entrepreneur and also for Iconology?
I mean, I'm looking for personally like the next really big iconic people. Like I'm looking for the next, people that I can put products with and sell and have sell. I'm looking for people that are inspiring the world. I'm looking for people that care about impact. Every entrepreneur I work with, I really only work with entrepreneurs that want to, impact the world, help animals, help conservation, help people.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much wrong with the world. We don't need more entrepreneurs that are causing problems. We need ones that are fixing them.
Right.
And I love this generation. I think that our only hope is this generation. I think they're very smart. I think like, people talk a lot of crap about like the young people and stuff. And I personally think that they're the brightest thing that we have. I have a 17-year-old and he's the smartest person I know. He references everything. He's a high level critical thinker. And I think that we need that. And I'm just very proud of this generation for being so determined to find the truth. I think that that's really powerful.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be part of that.
That's really,
I like this generation too. I like it. Yeah. I was going to ask, like, just because my mind is so blown right now about social media. What do you know, like, where it's going? Do you have any predictions on TikTok or just where it's going to go now?
Well, I think like one thing that's really interesting with the onset of this new AI, which we've been dealing with AI for 20 years, of course, remember, so it's not like it's really that new, but everything you touch is AI, your phone, social media, like, again, that's why kids were eating Tide Pods. That's why Donald Trump got elected. It was all AI. Okay. Like that's what happened.
Yeah.
Alexa's listening to you right now. If you have an Alexa in your house, like she's listening to everything. So yeah, it's crazy. So, I think that that's going to get more intense. I think that you're going to have a generation that needs to learn how to build guardrails and self-regulate AI because there's this ancient philosophical thing. I think it's called like the plight of Theseus or Thebius or something. You can look it up, but it's like this boat, right? Keeps coming into this harbor. And every time this boat comes in the harbor, like a piece comes off, it breaks, like a rudder, this or that. So the guys keep putting like those pieces over like in this other part of the harbor, but slowly they start to like build another boat out of the old parts, right? So one day, finally, the last thing breaks. And now they have these two boats, right? One old boat, one new boat, the same. Which boat is the real boat, right? So that's kind of what I feel like we're doing to ourselves. Like there's going to be the real Ava. And then there's going to be this other Ava. That's like the old you. That's like slowly you've replaced this with a cell phone. You replace this with TikTok. You replace this with, and then like, who's going to be the real you? So it's like, you look at the SAG and AFTRA strike right now, which is going on. Again, I think we're going personally into a digital winter. So people like me that do understand tech are valuable, but there's going to be kind of like a cliff because it's not valuable to just make websites anymore. It's not valuable to just make copy anymore. Like people are looking at it like the old machine age, right? Like they want to just have a machine. But meanwhile, that machine doesn't know anything unless somebody programs it, right? Mm-hmm. So I got to be that guy. But there's sort of this thing where that work quality, like the cost of it is going to be diminished. So, but then also the quality is diminished. I think that we have to be important. It's very important to like understand that collaboration is really important to how humans express things. And that's particularly like copyright is powerful for people like you. What you say, your pitches, your presentations, copyright them, because that's going to be how you fight back if an AI like, deep fakes you. And, like how these actors are having this issue where like basically somebody can just make a movie with their image and likeness and nothing could be said for it, for them. But there's a power in like protecting your expression. And I think that actually if the Hollywood folks get together with the influencer folks and the icon folks and the smart software people like me, I think the next world is leveraging licenses for software, for like our own software. So like, for example, you would make your own copy of yourself that you would license, right? And how that is used. And then now you're cooking, you know what I mean? Because that makes money and sense. So I don't know if that helps, but.
Yeah. I have a question because I'm like a writer and I write everything on Google Docs. And I just saw a TikTok this morning about something with AI and like protecting. And I've always had that fear of like, I don't know where my work is going or who's reading it, even if it's on like my sign in, like, is that safe there? Or should I write somewhere else? Should I write on pen and paper?
Like, I mean, Google is like always to me been the but I still use it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's good to have backups for sure. I think Google Docs is very useful, but yes, I think you should probably back everything up. I mean, one of the tried and true best methods is definitely, a pen and paper and a journal is awesome if it's something really important to you. But also those things, with age, lose, it might have a fire, you might whatever. So I mean, having a backup hard drive is good. There are places you can actually like have a hard drive like in a facility. I have friends that do that. They keep all their data safe. But I think you're mostly safe with Google Drive. But they do read your information. They do advertise to you based on what they see in your email, what they see in your Google Docs, and Drive. So I mean, it is part of the terms and conditions to use these things. Like this is the thing that I think nobody realizes. Like anytime you use any app, anytime you have a phone, you download a song, anything, you're giving the opportunity for that platform to use your data. That's how you're paying them, because they take your data. They sell it to somebody else like me, an advertiser or a venture capitalist that has it on a cap table, and that data is traded. You understand? And that's how they make money.
That's crazy. I mean, obviously, you have all of this extensive knowledge, and yet you still work, in the field. So obviously, a lot of people have super negative views and then just tell you to delete it all, but that's not realistic in today's day and age. So
it's not. I think there's a certain level of collaboration that's powerful. Like, I mean, it's just like if you went through COVID, like how many of us were like hermited and like we didn't have anybody, like you are exchanging, but you get the power of community and collaboration and community. You got to put yourself out there a little bit. I mean, exactly. But being knowledgeable about it, fighting for stronger laws that protect creators, definitely powerful. Speaking how you feel and being strong about your opinions, protecting your work with the typical intellectual property methods that we do have in this country, using those. It's just like if I was your mom and you guys were like, oh, should we like, have kids yet? I'd be like, well, you should probably use protection. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that's the thing. I mean, use the protection you can use. When you're ready to do something more risky, then do it. But
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure I can speak for Elise. We have learned so much, and I'm so excited for people to listen to this because, especially Gen Zers, you made us feel a little bit better about ourselves than everyone else is making us feel.
Hey, you guys were leading the charge. Keep going.
Yeah.
But I'm excited where you're going. I think we're going with you wherever you're going, and I think just being your authentic self and really putting that out there, but also protecting it and also monetizing it. Those are the big things.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining the Angel Baby Show today. I can't wait to listen more, follow Iconology, and just, try and protect myself. And, but yeah, no, Lindsey, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.